Is I pick up the guitar before I even take off my pajamas.
I'm the same, exactly the same. I have a couple of guitars lying around.
It's like it becomes kind of an extension of yourself.
Yeah.
And you find that with most guitar players that they just it becomes like a member of your family, a member of your life. I mean, you're almost married to the bloody thing, which is bloody stupid, you know.
To a plank of wood. A plank of wood.
But the fun you get out of it.
That's not the instrument, you know. I always like to think I'm not a really guitarist, I'm just someone who into music, and that happens to be the tool I use or something, you know. Yeah, because we were saying earlier, I know nothing about guitars, I mean, people ask about makes and stuff like that, and as I was saying, I could be at a gig and be there for 2.5 hours watching a player, and someone might ask me, what guitar was he playing? I haven't a clue. Yeah. I think it was
which is amazing.
I think it was red.
Well, I'll be a bit different. The first thing I remember about the guitar was I was about 14 and I saw Elvis with a guitar.
All right.
And it was the look of it.
Yeah.
That got me. I didn't care about the sound, it just looked great. Yeah. And I used to do little drawings of, to see if I could kind of do my own. So I eventually made a bloody guitar out of wood. Now, it only looked like a guitar, it didn't sound like one. But it was the look that got me. And then, of course, the Shadows came along and Hank then with the red Strat. So I'd be different with you there, you know. But of course, it opened the door for us, you know, to get into music. Yeah. And that's. I mean, I have a bash, play a bit of flute, harmonica, bit of piano, bit of pedal steel guitar. So it's not just the guitar; it is the music. Really.
So it is the music at the end.
In the bottom. Something I was going to ask you was that, you know, when we were young, say back in the 50s, 60s, whatever, you know, rock and roll and the guitar was the image of the 60s or the 50s, wasn't it? That was the instrument. Yeah. Well, prior to that, it was all these guys, saxophone players like your uncle and your brother and that, you know. But they hadn't got an image. Like the guitar, like to me, was like a
that's what appealed to
Teddy boy.
Yeah, that's right. I think my dad wanted me to play the piano, you know, because he thought that was you know, that was the grand master of all instruments. And the way it is, like, because you know, it's like an orchestra in itself. But yeah, I think I would have been cool enough for me, and you know, when I was a kid, like, you know.
It's true.
So the guitar looked the part, and you know,
It's true.
and also it's portable. You bring it around, but yeah, definitely had the thing.
But another thing too, Hugh, is that of all the guys, you know, I remember from that time who played, you know, the guitar as a rock and roll. Did you start off playing rock and roll?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
You know, not too many of us actually ended up playing a bit of jazz. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, you did.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of it was to do with the fact that Louis Stewart was playing in the city.
Yeah.
And I would go anywhere to hear anybody who played the guitar. Who's going to play the guitar better than Louis anyway?
Yeah.
But I kind of became friends with Louis way back, because I used to persecute him at gigs, you know, because he would be advising me what albums to get and so on.
All right, yeah.
But that kind of opened the doors back in the 60s now when he started off.
Did you have lessons with him? Sorry to
No,
interrupt
I
you
never
now.
did.
Yeah.
I never did.
I didn't either, because he wasn't teaching, but he was teaching earlier. I mean, that would have been earlier. He was teaching some people.
The first time I saw him was in a little club. It was called the Blue Note. It was in Stephen's Green, and he was there. And I went up to him, and I was with a friend of mine, and I to me he was already a legend, you know. At that time, I mean, you're talking about, like, he was could only be 20, I suppose, at the time. Yeah,
wow.
That's all he was really. He was the same age as myself at the time, and I remember he already had this established reputation as Ireland's greatest exponent of jazz, you know, guitar playing, and I remember having the, you know. I was a bit nervous talking to him, but I was like trying to talk to God or somebody.
Yeah.
You see, so I touched him on the shoulder at a gig, and I asked him, did he know? And I mentioned a tune, and he looked around at me and he went, "Oh my God!" Like somebody actually knows a jazz tune. And I just remembered his tune. I asked what he played, and he said, "Yeah, he played," and he did play it.
And he did.
So that was the first time. Then I many times I went to see him, and he was playing to nobody. Me and a couple of friends would go along, and he'd be there and he'd play just. You know,
I know. I was
like
there.
As if there was a crowd. You've done it too.
He just
you know, some of the
played.
places, even up to the last part of his life.
Yeah.
He was playing at the Stag there. I used to go on a Sunday afternoon.
Oh, really? Yeah.
And you know, there might be only 10 people there. It didn't bother him. Like, he was he's a perfect example of somebody that just loved music.
Yeah.
And it didn't to him. It was you know, it didn't matter if it was a million people or none.
Yeah.
He just would, you know, have to play just to get that, you know.
Yeah.
And
I think I'd be the same though. Would you know? No, really myself. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great if there's a big crowd. You know, it's great. You know, and you can feed off them a bit for energy and stuff like that. Yeah. But at the same time, it's.
Well, it's how you feel and how you.
It's how you feel. Yeah.
And you go through. Different kind of I don't know if you've done it. You probably have, where you go through kind of different inspirational, you know, a type of jazz, blah 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 blah, you know, like blues or kind of like bebop or whatever it is. But I always found jazz, I had it inside me, but I could never get it out. You know, like when I looked at somebody like Louis and some of these great players, they have the technique to get it out. I always felt that, you know, that for all the practicing I've done, I should be much better, you know, putting hours and hours in. But
I think a lot of people think like that, you know.
Yeah. You know,
I think probably Louis probably thought like that.
Well, he did. That was the funny thing.
No, that's the thing. Yeah. And Pat Martino, I tend to remember, you know, Pat Martino, like phenomenal technique. But I think I saw some interview where I think he was talking about his technique, and he wanted to get better at it, like, you know. Yeah. You know, so it's never. Yeah. I don't know.
Well, I went to see the two of them. They were playing. They played together. You know that.
Oh yeah.
When they were here, it went 10 years ago. Yeah. And when the gig was over,
Martino and
Pat Martino and Louis played together.
Oh jeez, I missed that one.
Yeah, and they just did a couple of tunes together in Whelan. Where was it? One of those pubs. The J.J. Smith's.
Oh, J.J.'s, yeah. All right.
And I went up at the end because I was trying to meet Pat Martino, and Louis says to me, he says, "Pat, this is a friend of mine, Norman Teeling. Norman, this is Pat, the best guitarist in the world." And Pat says, "Hang on a minute." I'm not the best guitarist in the world. This guy is. You
Yeah,
know.
right.
And did you see Pat Martini when he came here?
Oh yeah.
He's in Whelan's. You were there, weren't
Yeah,
you?
actually, funny enough, he came down and sat in with us in JJ's afterwards.
What?
He did, yeah.
Oh my God.
And Joey DiFrancesco as well. Do you know him, the organ player?
Oh,
Yeah,
they were
played
so
when he came
bad,
down.
weren't they?
Yeah. And it was, yeah, that was fantastic. Actually, I remember when he came in, because this was a moment, you know, Pat Martino's, you
Yeah.
know,
Well, he's the
it's kind of the
greatest.
god, yeah,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
at the, but I remember I was playing,
With your eyes
I had
closed.
my eyes closed, you know, a solo, you know,
didn't
and,
see him.
and then I opened up my eyes and
There was this man.
there was him just standing there. And he went like that, you know.
Yeah.
But I remember talking to him after, and I said, "Oh, I think when you walked in, I dropped a bar or two," and he said to me, "Not necessarily." But that was cool, all right, you know.
I know.
And he's right, you don't know, yeah.
Yeah. But he was.
It's such a
I
thing.
think he was probably the last of that. The great
Yeah.
guitarists. He's probably, and he died only this year.
Yeah,
last
yeah,
year?
was it? Yeah.
But he was,
Recent enough.
they're
Yeah.
all gone now, more or less. All the
He was
people that we
amazing.
probably would have been influenced by. But
Yeah.
still, there's a lot of great guys out there.
Well, George
now.
Benson's still around, or he's
Oh, yeah, well,
fantastic.
of course,
but
yeah.
he tends to do the pop thing an awful lot more now, yeah.
Yeah.
But I was saying there's a few great players. Peter Bernstein is one of these players
Yeah.
who I would put in with all those guys now.
Yeah.
He'd be mid-50s now, like, you know, and he's a fantastic player. He has all that sort of history in his playing, but he also has, you know, personal approach as well, you know, where he phrases and stuff like that. Yeah, yes, he's a great player. But the show goes on, like, you know, it's,
Well, we just keep
you know, the
twanging
music,
away.
yeah.
There's so many great young fellas out there. Like if you go online there on
Oh,
YouTube,
yeah.
you see these guys, you know, and they have transcribed some mad
Oh,
solo
yeah.
by anybody. You know,
Yeah,
and you kind of say, how the
yeah.
hell did they do it? You
Yeah.
know, how they? I wish I could. I wish I had that.
Had that
ability.
mindset to be doing that, yeah.
I think a lot of it is when you're. I don't think it's a matter of just practicing. I think you either have it or you don't. You know, I realise that
Yeah.
at my age, and my stage of playing the guitar, that you know, what makes a guy so brilliant at 20 and another guy at 80,
Yeah.
and he's still, you know,
Yeah,
struggling.
you're right.
You
There
know?
is a there
is
is something in that. All right, for sure. Yeah.
And then you get these guys like Pat Martino comes up with a whole new concept of how to approach the guitar. You know that minor conversion thing he
Yeah,
does, which I kind of had a bash at, and it's great. But you know, you get somebody like Wes Montgomery now, for example, who pops out of nowhere, and he just blows everybody's mind.
He's phenomenal. Though. He had everything.
I remember I used to go to the art college with this friend of mine, St. John Connolly, and Louis Stewart suggested that we listen to Wes Montgomery, and we never heard of him, you see. So we recommended we get an album called the Incredible Jazz Guitar of Wes Montgomery. So we were during the break or the lunch break in the art college, we went around to Grafton Street because it was in Kildare Street, so it was just around in Grafton Street, and we went into Worth's, I think it was, a record shop, and we asked them, could we, you know, have a look at or have a listen to the Wes Montgomery album. So the guy said, sure. We went into a booth, he put it on, you see, and we never heard it before, that kind of guitar playing, and the two of us were listening to it, and we started to laugh. We said, what I don't know what the hell, what's he doing? It's just...
What is it?
And, you know, I remember I break my heart laughing. I said, what a load of crap.
Oh
know?
my God.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And years later,
you
know, you're talking like 20 years later, I played that album so many times and I love it, and you just kind of incredible. You realise.
And he's
like,
great fit in the blues as well, isn't he? Has that, it's rooted in the blues. And
but I'm just,
so it's really, it's
you
the real
kind of
deal.
have to educate yourself. You have to listen to it, and that's the key.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't. Don't like jazz because they just don't understand what it means or what it is. But if you listen to it,
I didn't in the early days. Didn't like the sound of it. It was just sounded like
me too. Yeah, me too. Yeah,
make anything of it.
But it kind of starts off for me. It kind of stood up with a guy called Jimmy Bryant. Did you ever hear of him? He was he was an Albert Lee kind of the country guitar player. Was inspired by this guy Jimmy Bryant. And I happened to just buy an album. In a record shop way back in the 60s, maybe even the late 50s. It was that far back. And this guy Jimmy Bryant, and he played kind of, I know this very fast kind of Albert Lee style, but he did the jazzy. But the same technique. And so when I listened to him, he kind of opened the doors for me because he was doing kind of country, but he was doing it at this kind of modern jazz version of kind of country swing. Now, you don't hear very much of him, but he had a good few albums out, and
you have to check him out. That's strange.
Jimmy Bryant,
Jimmy Bryant,
really good. But I was talking to Albert Lee when he was at the Everly Brothers in the stadium, and I said, I want to talk to him. What will I talk to him about? You know, this is Albert Lee. You know, so I just said, did you ever hear of a guy called? And he was kind of like, I was just a fan talking to him. You're very good tonight, and blah blah blah. I said, did you ever hear of a guy called Jimmy Bryant? And he went, what? Jimmy Bryant? Yeah. Do you ever? Yeah. And he says, you know, have you got this album? I said, well, I have about 3 or 4 of his albums. He said, God, I said, you're the first person ever asked me that. He said, that's where I learned all I know.
Wow. Well,
From
there
Jimmy
you go.
Bryant. He
So
was my
that's the source.
inspiration.
Yeah.
Jimmy Bryant. If you actually listen to Jimmy Bryant, you can hear.
Wow.
And he's going back like the 50s from the swing era, and he's playing country. He does like Arkansas Traveller and all those kind of things that not he would have done, you know, that kind of stuff. Fabulous player.
I always check him.
Fabulous player.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a few of those country players were great jazz players. What's his name? Hank Garland. Do you know Hank Garland?
Oh yeah.
That famous album.
Yeah,
Like George Benson said that was one of his main
Yeah,
influence, that album.
yeah.
He did one album.
What was it, Four Winds or something?
Yeah, that's right. So it's fantastic. But he was the guy who played on like Crazy by Patsy Cline and all that.
Yeah.
He was doing all that Nashville sessions and all them.
Yeah.
So, but he
does that
he was a
introduction
phenomenal
on
player.
that Everly Brothers Don't Blame Me.
Oh, does he? Oh,
And
right,
it's
yeah.
A big long introduction,
Oh,
a
yeah.
jazz introduction.
Yeah.
Like Joe Pass,
yeah,
you know.
yeah, sure makes.
On a pop record.
Yeah.
It's on one of their albums. And,
Wow.
But then he had some sort of a car crash or something.
That's
that was
right,
the end of his career.
Yeah.
But he was fabulous.
Yeah,
That
he's a
one
phenomenal
album.
player. Yeah.
And then there was really in the country end of things, there wasn't that many guys really dabbled in jazz. They didn't
Yeah.
really go into it. It was a different ball.
There was a guy, Buddy Emmons. Do you ever hear him?
Steel player.
Steel player. He was great. He played with Lenny Bro. You know Lenny Bro, that guy?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He was phenomenal as well.
He was another guy that came up with a whole.
Oh yeah, whole different
harmonics
concept.
thing.
But harmonic thing, yeah.
He was murdered, I think, wasn't he? He got knifed.
Apparently, yeah.
Apparently, so but he has he's a couple of albums which I have.
Yeah.
Him and Chet Atkins.
Yeah. yeah.
The two of them record together, and they
Yeah. Chet loved him actually, didn't he?
and ripped off. Well, I think this guy actually taught Chet a few things.
Yeah, he
if
did.
Such a
Yeah.
thing was possible.
Yeah, I remember seeing an interview with Chet, and he was saying that he knew, at some stage someone would come along, and you know, it'd be a different dimension altogether. And it was Lenny, of course. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
who did come along.
yeah, he did come along, and he was phenomenal.
Yeah, he had a series of guitar lessons and guitar player every month for years.
Who said Lenny Bro?
Lenny
Did he?
Brown,
Oh,
yeah.
did he?
And I
didn't
used
know
to
that.
try and figure them out, but there's some kind of mad things. Like he'd come
Yeah.
up with, he played like the chord here, whatever it might be, and then he'd get harmonic of it.
Oh yeah.
And he
yeah.
was playing all these crazy things, but he had it
Yeah.
off like nobody
Yeah.
nobody since has ever come ever. Is that guy Louis Jordan? What's that guy Jordan?
Oh yeah,
He
Stanley
plays-
Jordan.
He's
He played like
yeah.
that. Actually, someone told me recently he's playing the guitar the normal way now.
Does he?
And he just sounds like an ordinary guy,
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
He was-
Yeah, but he used to do that harmonic.
Yeah, he was here. He
The
came-
two-handed guitar
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
He was out and he came here and
Yeah.
played in Dunleary at a gig.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't see that gig.
Yeah, I went out to it, but he was
Yeah.
it was kind of mad kind of guitar playing. He
Yeah.
was fantastic. Like he's playing like a piano. But the first guy to ever play like that was a guy called Tums Carlisle. Did you ever hear him?
Yeah, my dad had an album of his,
Yeah.
Tums Carlisle.
Yeah, and he was amazing.
I wouldn't have thought anybody heard
Yeah,
him, actually.
yeah.
Tums Carlisle,
Tums
that's
Carlisle.
right, yeah.
And
yeah.
I got an album called Nashville Guitar.
All right.
And he's on it, and he does a kind of a, what would you call it, a tribute to all the guitar players, and he mentions Chet Atkins, Les Paul, Billy Bird, Hank Garland, and he plays like them.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's amazing. I'll give it to you. I'll let you have it. You get it online actually. If you just put in, it's called Springfield Guitar Social. And he sings a song and then plays like everybody,
Yeah.
And I remember saying, he's incredible. He's better than all the guys he's actually playing. And then when I discovered that he actually plays the guitar like a piano.
Like a piano, that's
I
right,
was
yeah.
like, and then
I think on the cover of the album,
Yeah.
he's like
Yeah.
that.
He's online. You can get him on YouTube.
I'll have to check that.
Old clips.
I'm glad you remind me because I have forgotten about that.
Yeah, yeah.
I say my dad when I was a kid, actually, remember
Tums
playing
Carlisle, yeah.
Tums Carlisle. I thought it was a great name. Yeah.
But well, the guitar. I mean, change the subject. What are we talking
Yeah.
about?
Yeah, you can do it well.
But we have a bit of a